So when we make our box and whisker plot, we're basically just taking everything that we did yesterday, but putting it on a graph. Okay, so it's not crazy, it's not super new. Basically just more of what we did yesterday. So your box and whisker plot is a data display that organizes your data values into, if you had to take a wild guess, how many groups do you think? 4, right? And what do we call those 4 groups? Quartiles. Good. So your lower quartile is going to be the median of the lower half. What did we call that yesterday? Q1. Exactly. So lower quartile and Q1 are interchangeable. Okay. So if you see lower quartile instead of Q1, it means the same thing. So then your upper quartile is going to be the median of the upper half of your data. And what did we call that yesterday? Q3. So this is a little bit different. Your lower extreme. What do you think that is? The lowest, your smallest number, right? So we'll put the smallest data value. Then what do you think your upper extreme is going to be? Your greatest data value. Is that okay? So those two are kind of new. We talked about them just a little bit yesterday when we were finding your range, but we didn't have like special names for them or anything. But today you're going to plot those on your box and whisker plot, so they are kind of important. All right, so if you're interpreting your box and whisker plot, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, it's separated into 4 sections. We call those your quartiles. 2 parts of the box, 2 parts are the whiskers. All 4 sections are going to have about the same number of data points. So if you have a section that is a lot longer, a lot more spread out, that means that the data there is a lot more spread out. Not that there's more data in between here than there is here, but those points are more different than these points are. Does that make any sense? All right, so those words that we were saying before, your lower extreme is right here. Your lower quartile, or Q1, is going to be the bottom part of your box. Your median's in the middle. Your upper quartile is your Q3. That's the top part of your box. And then your upper extreme is on the other end. Then right here it says the length of the sections tell you how spread out the data is. That's what I was saying a second ago. So there's the same amount of data points between here and here as there is here and here, but this side is more spread out than this side is. So do we need an example of that? Maybe. So if we're talking about like your data, maybe they're test scores. So in this section, let's say that there's 5 in each chunk because we have 20 people that took this test. So there's 5 scores in between here, and we might have like an 18 because it's a little less than 20, and we may have like a 30, we may have a 45, and then a 25, and then on this end we're only between like 98 and 100, or is it 88 and 100. So those scores are all going to be a lot closer to each other, more close here, more spread out here. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over. So if you're going to make a box and whisker plot, which is what this next part's talking about, it's basically the exact same thing that we did yesterday. You're just putting it on a number line and drawing boxes around stuff. That's it. Okay. So you still have to order your data from least to greatest. Then you're going to find your median. Then you'll find your quartiles, just like we did yesterday. And then we'll put it all on your number line. So let's go ahead and try one. How about that? Okay. So our first example is right here. A lot of it is already done for you. Here's your data. So step 1, we got to put it in order from least to greatest, and they did that for you. Then you got to find the median. So we know that your median is going to fall in between 7 and 12. Yeah. And how do we handle that? Add them, divide by 2. So that's exactly what it did right here. Added, divided by 2, you get 9.5. So 9.5 is our median. How are we going to find our lower quartile? Or Q1? Do the median again. So 5 and 7 go together, then you're between 6 and 6. So and you add those, divide by 2, what do you get? 6. Same idea to find our upper quartile over there. So 12 and 19 to go together. What's going to be between 13 and 17? 13 plus 17 is what? 30 divided by 2 gives you 15. So that's your Q3, or your upper quartile. Your lower extreme is just the smallest data point that you have. That's the smallest data point that we have. 5. Your upper extreme is your biggest data point. What's the biggest data point that we have? 19. Alright, so then when we go to draw this, some people are like very, very picky and they want your tick marks to be all like evenly spaced out, and sometimes that's easier than others. We only have to go from 5 to 19, so that's 14 tick marks, 15 tick marks, so it's going to be pretty simple for us to get it all on here. Sometimes you'll have like over 100, so that's going to be hard to draw like 100 tick marks, so we'll kind of guesstimate with those a little bit. But for this one, we want to have 5 on one end and 19 on the other. And then we got to put all our little tick marks in between, and we want it to be pretty even. So what would be right in the middle of 5 and 19? What's 19 plus 5? Divide that by 2. 12. So right in the middle, wherever you think the middle is, we'll put 12. Is that okay? And then if we add 5 plus 12, what's 5 plus 12? And 17 divided by 2. It's like 8.5, right? So that's not going to be a good number to put in the middle. But we know 5. We could just go ahead and put tick marks in. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We need 7 tick marks in there. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So just try to get in this even as you can. It's not a huge deal. You won't have to like draw one of these on your test or anything by hand. You just have to interpret it. So I'm not going to stress about this too much, so I hope that you don't either. Okay. So now we need to go put all our information on this number line that we've got here. So we're going to start with your lower extreme. We're just going to work from like left to right. So the smallest number that we have is what? 5. So we're going to put a dot at 5. And then our lower quartile, or Q1, where does that happen? At 6. So at 6, we're going to put like a line, because that's going to be part of our box. What was our median? 9.5. So 6, 7, 8, 9.5. I'm going to put another line there, because that's going to be part of our box as well. Q3, where's that at? So 12, 13, 14, 15. That's going to be our last part of our box. And then our biggest number that we have, 19. So I'm going to put a dot out at 19. So we'll connect the middle chunks for our box. And connect the dots with a little whisker. And there's your box and whisker plot. Is that all right? Questions? So we'll move on to the back. Y'all are good. Alright, so we're going to make a box and whisker plot given this data. So when it says show all 4 steps, that's like referring to the 4 steps that we did over here. So step 1 is like put it in order. Step 2 is find your median. 3 is your quartiles, and 4 is your extremes. So step 1, we got to put it in order. So let's do that right now. I'm not going to talk because I'll screw up if I do. So we'll come back together once we're done with that. Alright, so we got our data in order. Then we want to find our median first, right? So how do we find median? Mark it out so you get to the middle. So 1 and 18, 6 and 17, 9 and 14. Uh-oh, what happens? We're between 12 and 13. So y'all, what's halfway between 12 and 13? So that's your median, 12.5. Then we got to find Q1 and Q3. How do you do that? Mark them out again. So for Q1, the 1 and the 12 mark out, but we're looking between 6 and 9. So what is 6 plus 9?
15.
And what's 15 divided by 2? 7.5. Is that okay? Then to find Q3, same thing's going to happen again, right? So if we have 13, 18 mark out, you're looking between 14 and 17. So what's 14 plus 17? It was 31 divided by 2. Is that all right? Questions? Okay, so now we need to go make our little box and whisker plot here. So the smallest number that we have is a 1. So I'm going to put that down here. And the biggest number that we have is 18. So I'm going to put that on the other end. So what's going to be like halfway between 1 and 18? 9, right? Yeah. So find about halfway and we'll mark that as 9. So then you can space out your tick marks in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mine are not spaced very evenly, but that's okay. I labeled some more in between there just to make it a little bit easier to count later. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. So we got our number line set up, so we're going to work from left to right again. Is that okay with y'all, or do you want to do like something different? Left to right, good. Okay, so it's the smallest number that we have. 1, so we'll put a dot at 1. And then our Q1 is going to happen where? 7.5, 6, 7 and a half is going to be like our first line for our box. And then your median, where's that happen? 12 and a half. So that's going to be right about here. We'll put another line because that's going to be part of our box. Q3, where's that?
15.
So 14, 15 and a half. We'll put another line. And then the biggest data point, your upper extreme, was 18. So we'll put a dot there. Connect your lines and make a box. Then connect the dots to the box with your whiskers, and we'll be done. Questions on that? Are we okay with this? Yeah. So we're going to do the same thing again for number 2 down there. So what do we need to do first? Put them in order, least to greatest. So we'll do 63. Alright, so once we're in order from least to greatest, we can start finding all the things that we need. So to find your median, you're going to mark out till you get to the middle. And what do we find in the middle? 5. So that was worked out nicely. It's our median. Then how are you going to find Q1? Mark out again. So 63, 67, mark out. What's your Q1? 68. Q3? 112. And then we're ready to go ahead and put this on our little number line, yeah? Alright, so the smallest number that you have is what? 63. The largest number that we have is what? 117. Okay, so this one is not quite so easy to like mark it out and put all of our tick marks on here. So we're not going to. Is that okay? If you did add 63 and 117, or is that what we want to do? No, we want to see what's in between there. Does anybody know what's halfway between 163 and 117? Do you know how to find that? Add together, divide by 2, what do we get? 90. So let's just put that in, about 90. What would be halfway between 63 and 90? Yeah, so we'll put, can we say 77, right about there? And then we'll do the same idea between 90 and 117. So 90 plus 107, divided by 2, 103. So I'll make it 104. How about that? So this is going to be real rough, and we're going to be guessing like where these numbers should go, but that's okay. It does not have to be perfect. So we'll just go from left to right again. So the smallest number, our lower extreme, what is that? 63, so we'll put a dot there. Your largest, or not, sorry, we're going left to right, so Q1 is 68. So where is that going to go? Is it going to be closer to the 63 or the 77? 63, so maybe like somewhere in here. Is that okay? Then what about our median? 85. So is that going to be closer to 77 or 90? 90, so we'll put it about here. This is just guesstimating. It's okay. It doesn't have to be exact. Then Q3 is 112. So is that going to be closer to 104 or 117? 117, so again, probably somewhere like here. And then our largest number, 117, we'll put a dot there. So we'll connect our lines for our box. Then draw whiskers out to our dots. And we're done. Is that all right? Do we have questions? So the last thing we're going to do here is compare. So I think I mentioned this yesterday. A lot of what they're going to have you do with statistics is just comparing data and interpreting data. So you are given 2 Box-and-Whisker plots that show test scores from 2 different classes, okay? So we needed to talk about what kind of conclusions we could make from these. So the statements that we're going to be talking about are all the types of things that they may ask you about. So the first one says the blank are the same. What is the same for both of these? Your highest number, right? What did we call that highest number? Your upper extreme. The next part says the median for the second test is blank, then the median for the first test. Well, where is the median for the second test? 84. Where's the median for the first test? So is the second test, what word did you put in there? Higher, right? So the median for the second test is higher than the median for the first. So the next part says the blank for the first test is the same as the blank for the second test. So what like number do they share? 84, right? So for test 1, what is 84? That's your Q3, so let's label that. And then 84 for the second test is what? Median. So when we go fill in these blanks, it says the blank for the first test. What can we put there? Q3, or what's another word we use for that? Upper quartile. for the first test is the same as the blank for the second test? Median. Then it says the scores for the blank are more widely spread than the scores for the blank. So which test has more widely spread scores? Test 1, because we got all the way from 62 to 91, right? And it's the longer box and whisker, so it's more spread out. So the scores for test 1 are more widely spread out than the scores for test 2. So our last little statement here says the range for 91 minus 62, so that must be Q1, and the interquartile range, 84 and 74, for the first test are either going to be greater than or less than the range and the interquartile range of the second test. So we need to find these values before we can fill in our blank over here. So what is 91 minus 62? What's the IQR there? 10. Then we're doing the same thing for test 2, or the second test. So 91 minus 71, what is that? And then the IQR was 88 minus 80. So 8. So the range and interquartile range for the first test are what compared to the second test? Higher, greater, bigger, whatever you want to put there? Do you have questions?